Welcome to Fitness Casual, fitness and nutrition tips for busy people. I'm your host, Andrew Hayes, and with me is the very protein conscious Kat Best.
Hello.
Kat, what is your favorite protein bar? I'm sure you've tried a lot of them.
I have tried almost every protein bar. Maybe not in the past 5 years, some newer ones, but I swear back in the day, like Quest bars, I've tried the Muscle Farm bars, I've tried them all. And right now I love Paleo Valley bars. They're my favorite. They're chewy. I love the consistency, but the chocolate one tastes like real chocolate, like legit chocolate. And I think that is hard to find in any product. And it also has 11 grams of fiber. That's incredible. So that's like my top protein bar for sure. They have a pumpkin flavored one, seasonal. It's actually quite good. And I make a little dessert bowl every single night. I like chop up a Paleo Valley bar and I put it in a bowl, and then I add more protein powder. So I add Active Stacks chocolate, and then I add some nut butter, and then I mix it all up, and it's basically like a cookie dough with chunks of protein bar, and it sounds disgusting, but it tastes phenomenal. It's like a brownie. It tastes like straight chocolate brownie batter, and I am someone who loves chocolate, and I love density, so that's a consistency I like. I hate a bad protein bar. I will not eat one. If I'm like on the go and it's like nothing or a shitty protein bar, I'm not eating the shitty protein bar. Like, I get so sad about them.
Do you have a least
like
favorite?
I think like those, like the Think bars, I hate those. I don't like how they taste. But yeah, I don't know about
Does
least
Nature
favorite.
Valley count as a protein bar? Those are the absolute most disgusting.
Those
They
are
just, like,
terrible.
crumble. They're
That
so
doesn't
dry.
count. Those don't count. Those totally don't count. I have like nightmares about those. I don't know why I had so many in my childhood. They were everywhere.
Same. Yeah, it was like that, or the chewy granola bars, but Quaker Oats, which like I don't know which one is less healthy for you. There's probably zero. It's just like a carb bomb. But anyway,
Yeah, it's not a protein bar if it has less than 10 grams of protein. It's just not.
yeah, even RX bar is like close. It's cutting it
It's
close.
12,
I think
yeah.
they're 12, which is okay. I think my favorite is Rise Bar, at least right now.
Yes.
But I have some beef with them. I'm sure they're listening to this. Their chocolate, I think it's chocolate almond, is so good. So then I was like, oh, let me try a bunch of other flavors, and they have a honey something, and it's like rock hard. And
I
kind
have
of
had
gross.
a rock hard Rise bar. I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. But they only have 3 to 4, 5 ingredients. So, I think some just don't make the cut. But I got into protein bars with Quest bars. I remember it being in college. That cinnamon roll Quest bar. Ooh.
Yeah.
Every day I would savor it. And this was also when I was a vegetarian, so I wasn't eating meat. And I would tell you that Quest bar is like what I lived for. It was the most exciting part of my day. And I look back and I think that's sad, because now I love all my meals. And it was very sad that the only thing I was like, yes, to eat was like my 1 bar per day. And they were
And
expensive.
those are pretty
and I
fake, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're quite fake, and so they didn't last, but they had a moment. But I remember like that was like almost like the first like healthy dessert I think people could
Yep.
find, and now it's like there's a healthy cake, a cookie, a waffle. There's like everything.
Yeah, let's set the
yeah.
record straight. If you're in a jam and you need to eat a Quest bar, you can, but we do not recommend those generally. And Tom Bilyeu, I think he's like a billionaire. Good for him.
He is.
But they're not great. But that's okay. It was a different time.
Yeah.
He had a good intentions, I think, when he came out with Quest.
Yeah,
so.
I think so. And I don't think they're definitely not the worst. Quest potato chips, I don't know what to make. People will ask me, they're like, what do you think about these chips? I'm like, I don't know. Like, how do we go from a chip to a protein? Like, what happened there? But, if you like them, I guess. But if you like regular chips, you should probably just eat those and then have some chicken.
That's right. So that's what we'll talk about today. We are going to talk about how to hit your protein goal. We are not going to talk about protein synthesis and all of the things that protein does for your body, because you probably have heard that enough by now. But one of the biggest challenges that we hear as coaches with our clients, and just being in the space in general, is how do I hit my protein goal? I believe you, it's important, but I've been told to eat 140 grams of protein in a day or whatever people say. And my response to that is always like, you should see my protein goal. No, but I get it. 140 is a lot. And so we're going to give some tips today on exactly how to do that, because it is important and it's not too much, at least for 99% of the population, but it does take some time and it takes some rewiring of habits, which is exactly what we do as coaches. So we are here to help with that today. But Kat, real quick, before we get into some tips there, you were a vegetarian for some time, and I believe that led you partly to your discovery of the importance of protein. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Long story short, when I was in college, I got into working out, and then that led me on. I was more interested in like bodybuilding type stuff, and I was reading a bunch of like fitness magazines, and they were all talking about macros, and I was like, okay, like what are macros about? So I got interested and just started doing my own research, and it became very clear to me that in order for me to hit my protein goal as a vegetarian, like my meals were just brutal. They sucked. And I didn't eat meat for so long that I wasn't like missing out on that, but I was just like, I'm barely eating anything, because in order to hit my protein goal but not have a bunch of carbs, like I'm just eating so much tofu and wheat gluten and those fake meats, and I had horrendous digestion. I think partly because of that, so much soy and so much like fake meat stuff in order to get protein. So it just made no sense once I started really understanding how macros work. So then I like vividly remember asking my parents to make me a chicken breast when I was home from college one summer. And then they were like, okay, like, like no one say anything. Like I was just going to have the chicken, and then went from there. But it just was so much more efficient. But I couldn't tell you how much better I felt once I started eating meat. I even think when I started eating meat to get more protein, I stuck to like just chicken and like nothing else, and I still didn't feel all that great until I started incorporating a wide variety of proteins, more steak, more fatty meats, all that stuff. So I really felt a huge shift, and I think that is why I'm also so passionate about talking about protein. Not necessarily that you have to eat meat, but I think it makes it a lot easier for you to just be efficient. But protein totally changed my life. Like even today, I can't express how amazing it is to like not be hungry all day long or just have good energy levels. Like it's incredible. I don't even really have strong cravings anymore. Like it's just, and that's just years and years of eating enough protein for my body weight.
I agree. I've had a similar journey. I was not vegetarian ever completely, but similar in terms of lack of protein, worrying about cholesterol and all of these other things that are often linked to meat, which is, it's a complex topic, but that's one of the things we want to talk about today is protein quality, because it's not all the same. Quest bars, like, no, I'm kidding. It's not all the same. And there is a place for supplementation. There is a place for, if you're just a vegetarian, we'll talk about that. But I would say, generally speaking, just set the record straight in our opinion of if you are a vegetarian for personal choices, religious, ethical, whatever, we totally respect that. We have vegetarian clients, but it is a lot more difficult to hit a protein goal and to get quality protein without supplementation. And so if you are listening to this and you are somehow vegetarian because you think it's healthy, you're probably experiencing a fair amount of symptoms if you're not hitting your protein goal and not supplementing correctly. And so why don't we start with that, Kat, I guess, in terms of protein quality? Is that the best place to start? Meat?
Yes. Yes. So one thing I'll be saying a lot is quality protein, and the terms quality protein and complete protein I'm using interchangeably. But complete protein is more of like a formal definition, and that is a protein that has all 9 essential amino acids that your body cannot produce on its own. That's very important to recognize. Like your body cannot make these amino acids. You have to get them from an external source. And this is really, really important for all things like muscle, metabolism, immune system. And a quality protein is also something that is effectively absorbed and utilized by your body. So your body can do more with this protein from a steak than it can with protein from peanut butter. That's just, how it works. So a quality protein it's more bioavailable. And then quality proteins are also easy to digest. So that's one thing. Most proteins that we're going to be talking about are going to be quite easy for you to digest. Not that many issues that come along with it. But some more of the plant-based ones could be a little bit harder to digest. And then, of course, we always, when it comes to quality, we are referring to like whole, minimally processed proteins that have like a lot of their nutritional integrity still intact. So I'm not referring to processed red meats when I'm talking about hitting protein. So just, keep that in mind. Like, I'm not referring to hot dogs. I'm just talking about like good sources. So if we're thinking animal based, it's like eggs, chicken, turkey, fish, beef, maybe lean beef, and then dairy products like Greek yogurt, milk, cottage cheese. And then plant-based complete sources are much rarer and harder to find, but they are found in quinoa, soy products like tofu, edamame, hemp seeds, chia seeds, buckwheat, and I think pistachios. And then there are some other like smaller ones, but that list, that was just so random. It's like no one's getting enough protein through chia seeds. Tempeh counts, yeah. Okay. Tempeh, yeah, soy, anything soy.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're just gonna not feel great if you're eating that much of those products either.
And I think that's really important, just to add one thing there, that a lot of people make unhealthy choices consciously. They eat hot dogs, they eat processed sugar, they eat, rice cakes, whatever. And they're like, I know why I feel bad, but I can't, find the time or the energy to make choices, the right choices. But I think there are a lot of people out there who think they're eating healthy because they don't understand what the actual amount of protein they need to be getting, or the difference between complete and incomplete protein sources. And I think vegetarians and vegans often fall in that category of like, I eat a lot of plants. Why do I feel like garbage? And protein quality and protein quantity is really important. And that's something that a lot of people overlook.
Yeah, super important. And I think, we're not talking about vegetables here, but just know, like, for anyone who is healthy and eats a lot of protein or meat, they're probably eating just as many vegetables. So they go hand in hand. We're just not talking about that specifically today, but we are, protein in the context of balanced meals is always ideal. We're just focusing on just the protein piece.
Yep, exactly.
So, number one, how to hit your protein goal is to have one protein per meal. I think aiming for at least 30 grams is ideal, but that can be hard if you're not tracking your food and you have no idea what 30 grams is. So I would say look at your palm. Your palm is probably like about maybe 3 to 4 ounces.
Yes, the inside of your palm, not your fist.
Inside of your palm, yeah, not your fist, just the inside, including the like thickness of your hand.
The meaty part.
Yeah, I don't know. That could be about 3 to 4 ounces. Depending. This is not a perfect science. That's why like food scales exist. But if you're just eyeballing, about the size of your palm, could be maybe 4 ounces. So for men, typically, because their protein needs are more, maybe like 2 palms, and for women, like 1 to 1.5. But if you are looking at nutrition labels, which you should be, you don't need to be tracking your food to look at a label. You'll see like what the serving size is in relation to the protein. And if you're doing just some easy math, you're looking for at least 30 grams per meal. You can have more. I'm really not worried about the upper limit, but we are worried about the minimum. So at least like 30 grams. And if you're doing anything less than that, like I would say 25 you can get away with, but you will probably not be hitting your goal by end of day. Yep. Because even if you're having 30 grams per meal, that's 90 grams at the end of the day. And I don't have a single client with a 90 gram protein goal. Everyone's higher than that. So that's why the other stuff we're going to get to is going to come up.
and
but
the
I will
phones are, go ahead.
I was just going to say breakfast, extremely important. I think it is very hard to hit your protein goal if you are not having breakfast. It could be easier if you're someone who really likes protein. If you don't mind having a giant serving of protein at your meals, maybe you'll do better with that. But I do think breakfast is extremely important. And I'm not going to get into the benefits of why, but just if you're trying to hit your protein goal, neglecting one entire meal of the day will make it harder, and you will have to play catch up elsewhere with snacks, which can be hard, or just like bigger portions of protein at your meals, which some people don't want. So more meals could be better if you don't like quantity or like a higher amount at your meal.
Yeah. If you've ever tried to eat 10 ounces of chicken in one sitting, you'll learn your lesson pretty quickly that you probably should have had some at breakfast. I was going to make a joke that the phones are lighting up from the intermittent fasting crew because I know that comes up a lot. Intermittent fasting, another topic that obviously we're not going to get into today, but generally speaking, it's difficult to hit your protein goal when skipping breakfast. So would you say that's probably a good enough reason to maybe not do that to start and prioritize a protein heavy breakfast instead? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I also think with intermittent fasting, I'm sorry, but if your eating window is like 3 hours, have fun getting 150 grams of protein. Have fun, because you could eat a lot of calories. I'm not worried about someone eating like 2,000 to 3,000 calories in that time frame. Very easy, but to get enough protein, like, you're going to be uncomfortable.
Yep.
So I think, spreading it out is definitely a really good trick to hitting your goal at the end of the day without feeling like you just had a ton at one sitting, which isn't bad, but something that most people don't want to be doing.
Right. It's hard.
And then next we have choose lean proteins. So proteins can either be like on the leaner side, which means there's less fat, or they can be on the fattier side, more fat. Neither is right or wrong. Fatty meat isn't bad, but if you're trying to hit your protein goal without like exceeding a lot of fats, then it's good to choose mostly lean proteins and maybe have like 1 or 2 fatty proteins per day. Like if you're trying to hit your protein goal only through salmon, like you're going to have a lot of extra fats there because salmon is like quite a fatty protein. Doesn't mean it's bad, but you just need to be more aware. So I find our clients who may choose eggs and steak and salmon all in one day are having a harder time hitting their protein goal without eating a ton of fats. So you need to scoot some lean ones in there. And lean proteins could be chicken breast, non-fat Greek yogurt, it's like pure protein, same with cottage cheese, shrimp, whitefish, tuna, and like pork tenderloin. I would even say like chicken thighs, I guess they're not considered a lean protein, but they're not like a ton of fat there. But chicken breast is just extremely efficient for protein. I think if you are finding that you're just not able to hit it, like just add more chicken breast in your day. Like I remember once, Andrew, what'd you have, like 8 ounces of chicken, and you were like, it shot your protein goal like way higher, and you were like,
Yep.
Wow, this is so efficient. Like I did not
Yep.
need this much.
Yep.
And I think the same thing when I have chicken. I'm just like, wow. And like I like eating it, but I'm like, I did not necessarily need to have all of that.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, lean proteins, and then protein-rich snacks. So my philosophy is always that your meal should make up the bulk of like your nutrition. You should not be relying on snacks to hit your protein goal, but they can help. If you have like 20 grams to make up with snacks, maybe 30 at most, but if you have like 50 to 75 grams of protein, like you're not getting those through snacks. You have to be getting that more through your meals. But snacks do help. So like hard-boiled eggs, turkey deli meat, really efficient, edamame, jerky, yogurt, protein bars, like things like that, they can help. But again, I would say leave that to like 20 grams out of your day. I think people are always asking me like, what snacks can I have? What snacks? And my answer always is like, the snack should not be the most important thing. It should be your meals, and then your snacks come after. And if you're eating enough protein per meal, you may notice you don't even want snacks.
Yep.
And I think that's a great place to be if you don't need to have a snack. We're a very heavy on snacking culture in this country, but you don't really need to have them. You should only be having them if you are actually hungry or you really need to fill like a nutritional gap.
Yep. One of my favorite testimonials that you ever put up on our Instagram from one of our clients was that protein is magic. I think because you use the magic wand, and so it just was like a very effective tool. But our client was like, this is magic. I don't have any cravings anymore. What is this, sorcery or something like that? And I've mentioned before that I do every single intake call for every prospective client and client in our coaching program. And every single one is like, I have craving. I have a sweet tooth. And it's like, that's not really a thing. It is definitely real that you crave sugar at night or that you are snacking throughout the day. I totally understand that's a real challenge, but like you're not genetically any more into sugar than the person next to you, and really prioritizing protein at your meals is tremendous for these cravings. And I think unfortunately America plays into this snacking thing that we all have because we're all undernourished and we're all busy and we're all stressed, and so we buy crap in a bag, and then it just kind of accelerates the same process more and more. And so prioritize that protein at the meal, please.
Oh, it's totally true. I used to be a big like afternoon sweet treat or something after dinner. I still do something after dinner. That's my fun protein bowl, but it's like that is a habit that you learn. It's not necessarily something you need. But I remember like getting an extreme energy crash in the afternoon, dying for something sweet, like actually leaving where I was working to go somewhere to buy something. And it's like I left to go
Yep.
spend money to like get my fix every day.
Yep.
And I would always
Yep.
be like, not today. And then I would end up like it's 3 o'clock, gotta go. And that's like I was also like, that's embarrassing. I was like, this is like automatic and I can't control it. And I know like ton of people are in that same boat. And now like I can't tell you the last time I had that feeling. Like I just don't.
That's
I don't
awesome.
get the urges and I don't
So
even like
great.
think about it. Yeah.
One of my favorite stories, and I tell this a lot to clients, is when I worked at Twitter. This was like peak tech, like every perk on the planet, on-site massages, CrossFit gym, 3 meals a day for free. It was like borderline disgusting how much they gave the employees, although I realize now that those were productivity tools because I would work there like 12 hours a day. But the point is, generally speaking, there was a trend with genders where the men, we had free lunch on site, and the guys would eat like guys. They would eat meat, they would eat rice, of course vegetables too, and then the women would trend towards the salad bar. We had kind of like a sweet green, but it was build your own. And so it was like spinach, arugula, tomatoes, maybe a little bit of cheese, maybe some nuts, but like there wasn't a lot of protein in there because that's how everyone has been taught to eat to stay lean or to lose weight, is to, eat vegetables and reduce your calories. And then we also had a ton of on-site snacks, like you name it, healthy, unhealthy, sweet treats, whatever. And by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, like all the women had their hands like in the cookie jar because they were hungry, because they didn't eat any protein. And this was like one of the early insights when we were first like thinking about Alta. I was like, wow, there's a lot of miseducation, and it's leading to all kinds of issues with like weight gain or eating too few calories or guilt or all of these things that kind of roll in together simply because you're not hitting your protein goal. Like it is amazing how much of a difference it can make just prioritizing that 3 meals a day.
It's so true. We have a lot of skeptical clients who are like disturbed by the amount of protein I have them eating. And honestly, like I put them usually at the lower end of where I think they should be. I don't even put them where I think maybe could be best. I'm kind of like, what's the least we can get away with, because it's new and intimidating. And, you see it after a few days, they're like, oh my God. Like it could be less than 1 week in and they're like, I have no cravings. I feel great. I have energy. My digestion's great. I'm pooping every day. Like they're so happy. And that's what gets them on board, is like doing it and then feeling the benefits and then committing to it.
Yep.
It's just like it can be that fast in a matter of days where you do feel a lot better.
Yep.
So protein powder. This is obviously a very useful tool in order for you to hit your protein goal. But I think a supplementation, across the board should only fill in the gaps that your diet is not meeting. But protein powder is extremely efficient. So I would say each protein powder is probably like 20 to 25 grams of like pure protein. Some of the plant-based ones have a little more carbs attached to them, but I'm not referring to a meal replacement that have like a bunch of carbs and protein and fats. I'm just talking about like pure protein. That is a really good way for you to hit your goal. And I think 1 scoop per day is appropriate for most people, maybe 2. I think like someone like Andrew, who has a pretty aggressive protein goal, 2 per day is fine. I think if your protein goal is like 150 or less, you could probably do 1 and then get the most from food. But if you're someone who likes protein powders and it's like an enjoyable way for you to enhance your meals or hit your goal, then I think it's okay to have more. I'm not that worried about people consuming too much, unless, which I have seen, people try to hack the system. They're like, I won't do anything except drink core power shakes all day long. That's all I'm going to do. And honestly, they hit their protein goal and it's kind of like funny, but then it's like, okay, that's also like too much of an extreme. But 1 to 2 scoops per day is fine. And I'm someone who like, I truly genuinely enjoy protein powders as part of like desserts or smoothies or in yogurt. Like I like how it tastes. I think I'm very acclimated to the taste. So for me, it's not new. I think when it's a new taste or like the, stevia or whatnot can be kind of new for people. But for me, like I do like the taste and I make all sorts of things with protein powders, and it's a enjoyable way for me to hit my protein goal. If I didn't like protein powder, then I wouldn't eat it and I would just have to get it all through food. But for people who do like something kind of sweet, or, you know, you can make pancakes, you can make waffles, you can just make fun things that you can't with meat, that's where protein powder really shines. And I think, you know, it's appropriate for everybody, but you have to keep an open mind as far as taste and expectations. But for a lot of people, you know, I make protein cookies all the time, because if you're going to have a cookie, why not have ones that have, like, you know, maybe 8 grams of protein in there, and it makes a difference, you know, if you're eating a few of them. So yeah, protein powders. And of course, if we get into like the type of protein powder, that can be quite nuanced, but I think looking for like grass-fed whey protein isolate is good. If you don't tolerate dairy, then do a plant-based one. But if you do tolerate dairy, I would actually say do a whey protein, more bioavailable, and so it could be more efficient for your body to get the benefits of protein. But plant-based is also fine. But I do find a lot of people will do plant-based because they think it's healthier. And I don't think that's the case. But like whey protein concentrate, get it out of here. That's what's going to cause like gas, bloating, issues. Like concentrate can be quite hard for people to digest. So before you decide you can't tolerate dairy-based protein powder, have a really good quality whey protein isolate. For myself, I've been doing Active Stacks. It's actually a beef protein that also has collagen in there, and I think it tastes phenomenal. It only has 3 ingredients, which for me is like, I've never seen anything better than that. And it tastes like a brownie. It tastes like pure chocolate. It has actual like cocoa in there. So I'm a big fan of that one, but it is on the pricier side, but that's like, I'll pay for quality any day when it comes to protein powders.
If you haven't found a flavor you like yet, I recommend keep searching. I think Legion in particular has like cinnamon crunch and like vanilla birthday cake or whatever. So there's something out there for everyone. I personally just go with chocolate. But Kat, I do want to add one thing. I just want to make sure we're aligned on this too, is when we coach our clients, we never go supplements first, rarely, unless we see a reason to go supplement first. However, I would say most people have trouble hitting their protein goal and should feel comfortable having a protein supplement, like a quality protein powder, as part of their daily routine or close to it. Is that fair to say?
Yes, absolutely. And our clients who don't like protein powders and also don't hit their protein goal tend to not see the best results. And I think the ones who recognize that the protein powder is just helping them get their goal because they're not going to do it in their other meals, they do well. So you also have to just understand why you're using it. And if you don't like the taste, totally fine. You just have to find something else. And on that note, collagen powder, super popular right now. And I think it is very valid to put in your coffee, you know, a little protein boost there. You can also put collagen in anything warm, like tea, soups. Like if you're making a soup and most soups don't have enough protein, like they just don't. So if you pop some collagen powder in there, tastes like nothing, you know, like stirs right up. That's a good way to get a little booster there. So I think lately I've been telling a lot of our clients to have like one protein powder, like a whey or, you know, plant-based, beef-based, whatever, and then one collagen. Because I have found that those collagen supplements can be used in places you wouldn't use a flavored protein powder. And it's just like the more tools you have, the more options you have. And you don't need to use them every day. You can also only use them when you need. But, you know, we have a lot of people who are, you know, at the end of the day, after dinner, they need to squeeze out 30 more grams. So just having a quick protein shake is very efficient for checking that box. But yeah, it's never the first thing that we recommend.
If there are any larger guys out there, larger by height or weight or both, you probably have somewhere between 150 and 200 gram of protein goal. I found when I'm in that stage where that's what I'm working towards, that a smoothie of some kind is almost necessary. I usually end up just getting close to 4 meals, and it's pretty amazing like how lean I stay when I do that. It feels like a lot of food, but I never feel super bloated because I'm prioritizing the right foods and the right quantities and qualities. And it, you know, just keeps me operating really efficiently. And so, yes, it might feel a bit uncomfortable to you to eat that much protein at first, but I promise you'll feel a lot better eating 180 grams of protein in a day than trying to starve yourself. And this is something we see with a lot of male clients, and then getting to 8 p.m. and being like, wow, I'm starving. And then you eat a bunch of crap. and then you feel like garbage. So eat up. If you need to make a shake, I find that like 3 to 5 o'clock window is a great time because your lunch is starting to digest. You're still a few hours from dinner. Get 50 grams in a shake, and then you're looking at only hitting, maybe 50 grams per meal, which is pretty doable at most.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan of the super smoothie. And I think, protein aside, your smoothie can also check off a lot of other nutritional bases you're not getting, that you wouldn't normally have, of like good quality fats, berries, chia seeds, like things like that. Like smoothies are fantastic. And I think they're pretty enjoyable, but if you don't love it, just think of the functionality of it and the efficiency. What I think is worse is having a scoop of protein powder with liquid in a shaker bottle. I think that's disgusting. I hate it. I really hate. I had to do that when we were in Virginia at the fly-in. Oh my God, I had to do that. And I was just like, this is so bad, and I can't believe people do this every day. Like, or
gross.
just feel like there's no other option. Like, there are so many other ways to consume your protein powder. Like, mix it with yogurt, your oatmeal. Like, it can taste so much better.
That was me in my gym bro days with the shaker bottle with a little shaker in it and just like powder, and so gross.
So gross.
Yeah, fiber too, by the way. The only reason I hit my fiber goal is when I put it in a smoothie.
Yeah, very efficient for that.
Yep.
Okay, so plant-based carbs that have protein. This is another way for you to hit your protein goal. Foods like lentils, chickpeas, beans, quinoa, edamame also have protein, but they are mostly carbohydrate dense. So you can't call those proteins, but you can get them for extra protein. So if you're doing chicken and beans, like, you're going to get some protein from the beans, but you're also going to get carbs. So if you're someone who needs carbs at your meals, which is like most people, if you choose some carbs that have more protein, you can squeeze out like an extra 10 grams per meal. Like, that will move the needle. And also, circling back to the first point, if you're looking for 30 grams per meal, it doesn't need to come from one source. It can be a combo. If you're doing eggs and cottage cheese or eggs and smoked salmon, like, you can do that. So you can mix and match things to get your numbers up. So that's a really good trick if you're kind of grossed out by having too much of one thing, or if like having more than 2 eggs is disgusting to you, then just add something else to that meal that has protein, chicken sausage, turkey bacon. Like, you can get it up in other ways, but being aware of these carbohydrates that also have protein is really helpful. And I think lentils are like very, very good. They're very high protein. The carbs are really good. So that's a great one to make all the time. Those are super healthy and really easy. Like, all of these things are quite easy. Quinoa, super easy. You don't even need to cook it. You can buy like a ready pack.
Yep. That's what I do. Yeah,
super easy.
Whole Foods has a bunch of those, because lentils, if you just buy like the regular lentil and you have to soak it, and don't do that.
Oh.
I don't know anyone who does that. But yeah, you can buy the ones that cook in 5 minutes. Same with the quinoa. That's a good hack for busy people, which is exclusively who we work with.
Yeah, or if you're like making a chili, for example, like, you can throw a lot of things in there that have more protein that are kind of like hidden. And this kind of segues into the next point, which is just no cook proteins. You need to have these on hand. If you are busy and you're not hitting your protein goal, then this is what you need, because you are more likely to use these foods than you are to cook, like all of a sudden start cooking more. So this would be like rotisserie chicken, canned tuna, egg bites, hard-boiled eggs. There's like a lot of egg stuff now at the grocery store because those Starbucks egg bites popped off, and now there's like a version of that everywhere. So you can get things like that, and those could also be like little snacks. Chicken sausage. You can get already like prepared fish. It's like you can buy tons of things. You could really have your whole week based on already cooked foods and do okay. So, I think I talk often about the rotisserie chicken. I'm a huge fan of like a weekly rotisserie chicken for whatever you may need it for. It could be a meal or just like random little chicken salads that you make. But, I like knowing that I always have a quick protein, and sometimes dinner hits and I'm like, I don't feel like it. And then I just pick something, either just meats or something really easy. And then I just always have options. And I think setting yourself up for success just by having those things on hand is so huge. It sounds so easy and simple, but not many people are doing it. So I think that's just a really, really important one. Or have like frozen cooked proteins that you just thaw, or like, you could even microwave. I don't care. Just find a way to heat it up. Might not be your most favorite meal on earth, but if you're trying to hit your protein goal, it's not only based on like pleasure, it's also for function. So you always have to
Right.
keep that in mind.
Right. And as soon as you feel the benefits, which we both talked about, it becomes easier. I'm solo
Yeah.
dad this week for 6 straight days and 3 dogs on top of the 2 kids. Who's counting? And Saturday, before Leah left, I placed a grocery order for pickup on Monday morning and basically planned out the week. And I have definitely some room for takeout because, self care when I have that much going on. But last night we got home from gymnastics at 6 o'clock, and I put a salmon that I already ordered in the oven, and I had frozen broccoli, and then I did a rice packet. And that was it. And that's salmon is, incredibly easy to hit your protein goal and all kinds of other benefits too. And then we do the frozen salmon, frozen fish delivery as well. So even if it's frozen, you can put it in the oven in about 20 minutes covered in foil to defrost it evenly, and then take the foil off and cook it for 15 minutes or so. Having those things around is so clutch. As a parent, I would just never hit my protein goal, especially by dinner time, because those hours of 5 to 8 are just pure chaos once the kids get home from school and they have to eat and all this other stuff I have to do. And so you really need to have those ready-made protein sources. It's not always going to be like a cooking show level meal, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think if you are a parent and like your dinner is kind of chaotic, like make your lunch incredible
Yeah.
if you can, or make your breakfast incredible. Like you can just pick a different meal to really, eat slowly. Like some of our clients who are parents are like, my lunch is the only meal I sit and I can eat by myself in the peace and quiet. And I'm like, then that meal, we should amplify that to be like as good as possible.
Yep.
And one other thing, and this is just because I do like to cook, and I think, liking to cook obviously helps with eating more protein, but having the right appliances is also very important. And I swear by my air fryer and my pressure cooker for cooking meats, because pressure cooker, I can cook like a giant pork shoulder or something like big that could be 4 pounds, and I can cook it in like less than an hour without having to like be there. You just turn it on. Same with like a crock pot or slow cooker, but I even think those are like a little more work. But same idea is that it's like something really easy that you don't need to think that much about. But I use my air fryer like every day to cook easy proteins. Like fish cooks up in less than 10 minutes. Like pork chops, 5 minutes. Like you can just make things really easy if you have the right tools. So if you have an oven and a stovetop and you're like, I don't like using these and I don't like the foods that come out of these, maybe buy something new. A lot of people love getting an air fryer. It like revs up new things you can make. You can make all sorts of meats that I would say are like a little healthier because you can use less oil. Like I have all sorts of recipes for chicken wings that don't have any oil on them and they're super crispy. So it's like little things like that. If it makes the food taste better to you, you're more likely to eat more. And maybe getting a new appliance will also just bring more ideas to the table, or you can cook more in bulk. Like, in a pressure cooker, you can cook like a shredded chicken breast in like 10 minutes, and you could make 5 pounds of them all in 10 minutes, and then you're set for the week. Like, it's really, really efficient. So, cook in bulk. That's also another one. Hit your protein goal by cooking more at one time. If you're making fish for dinner, why not make double or triple the amount so you have some for the next day if you're able to do that, or dinner for lunch leftovers the next day. Like make your life really easy by just maximizing your cooking time.
Yep. Air fryer, by the way, is a brand name, a pretty brilliant brand name, and is not at all analogous to frying food, and is totally healthy and fine. Just so everyone knows, like air frying a fish doesn't mean that you're making it the same health quality as French fries.
I air fried fish last night. I even put it in some gluten-free breadcrumbs, made it nice and crispy. That took a little more effort, but having fish just plain on its own sometimes is enough. You need a little crunch, a little outer crunch.
That's right. I agree. Is that everything?
I think so. I think that covers the bulk of it. But
We
also
could-
just find what you like and stick to it. Like if you like chicken and steak and ground turkey, then that can be it. You just have to find the right quantity to also hit your goal. So you don't need variety. I think variety is great for more nutrients, and diversity in your diet, but you just have to find what works and then repeat. Don't try to do something new every single day. It's going to be a lot harder. Just get used to like repetition. And then maybe on weekends or when you're going out at restaurants, that's when you can like deviate and try new fun things. But for the most part, if you're just more consistent with the boring stuff and just kind of getting used to it and making it taste good enough, then that is where you need to be.
Love it. There is one question we didn't answer that the phones have been lighting up the whole time. People really want to know. Protein throughout the day. There was a common misconception for a while. I already gave away the answer. That you need to space out your protein throughout the day. True or not true?
Yes, you do. You do because of muscle protein synthesis. So having 30 grams every 3 to 4 hours is much better for you than having, 60 grams of protein at like 2 meals per day. So You do want to have that spread out. Super important. And that's why we always talk about breakfast, because I swear if you miss the breakfast window, like you're just setting yourself up for a more difficult day.
Right. Okay, great. All right. Well, this is a very common struggle with the clients we work with, so we might revisit this again if we think of more tips. So, please call in, let us know what you think of this episode. And yeah, stay tuned for the next one. If you want more tips on protein, I think we talk about it every other day on the socials. So you can follow me on Instagram at Andrew Hayes Life, and you can follow Kat at Kat Best Wellness. And you can also send us a message. We have multiple protein guides that we are happy to send you with lots and lots of foods to help hit your protein goal. Talk soon, everybody. Stay hydrated.
See ya.